Going once, going twice.
Sign-in sheet.
Yeah.
Now I'm entertaining a motion to accept, or motion to accept them.
I'll move.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the minutes for July 27th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. The approval of the general fund vouchers as listed.
Excuse me, there's another set of minutes in there from the special meeting?
Those weren't listed on the agenda. I didn't have them at the time when the agenda was put out, so we can do them the next time.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, general fund vouchers then, 72,517 through 537. Wire transfers 25 through 38, and activity fund vouchers 2176 through 2182.
They look good. I'll move.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded that we accept the, or approve the general fund vouchers. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Public comment and questions. I think I saw Randy on the list. Go ahead, Randy.
And I've got a copy of this that I'll give to you. To the Board of Education, I'm here tonight to let you know that I'm finishing work on a petition of no confidence in at least one member of this board, along with the help of several others. We will get it compiled and organized to present to you in the next few weeks. I was here about a month ago with a letter gently urging you to change what I observed to be damaging behavior. From that, I am moving forward with this next project. I want you all to know that I am doing this out of no personal ambition, and in fact, I'd much rather not be involved at all. This gives me no pleasure. However, my unique perspective on all of this compels me to do what I can. I served on this board for 6 terms. I've been treasurer, vice chair, and chairperson. Before collective bargaining became a thing of the past, I assisted the board in about a dozen negotiations with our local teachers union. During my tenure, we conducted 2 superintendent searches, built the current junior-senior high school facility, and we navigated budgetary storms that came out of Madison. And we never went to referendum to raise money for general funds. In 18 years, I made it to 14 state school board conventions to further my understanding in education and growth as a member of this board. If you are somehow able to find an administrator as good as Brad Ayer, and I seriously doubt such a person exists, you will find yourselves faced with the very same self-imposed dilemmas you currently have. This district's problems are not in the superintendent's office or in the past with the dozen or so former board members who have served here. This district's problems are in this room with you. Correct that, and Clear Lake will continue to have a momentum of greatness. Sincerely, Randy Dean.
Thank you, Randy.
Yep.
And then we'll move on to old business. The first item is construction update.
Okay. Talked with Ben earlier today. The HDMI cables, I believe, were done at the elementary. That was one of the things there. The blacktopping, if you've had a chance to drive by, the striping took place today, and tiling is finishing up here. So there is real daylight at the end of the tunnel. So everything should be ready to go for the start of school this year, and we will not have to delay.
All right, well, then we'll move on to the updating regarding recordings of board meetings.
And
Could we just jump back just a second?
Yep.
What are we going to do with our start and stop times? Are we going to continue on like we did last year, or what's your thinking?
The start and top times, yes. We actually approved the calendar with those times back in, was it February or March? And so the calendar committee that met at that time, which is a group of teachers, and we talked about that and said, you know what, that 8 minutes that we added to, keep it in there. And so it still will be, I gotta think here, 3:15 at the elementary and 3:25 at the high school dismissals.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Ben is here to visit us, I believe, on the recordings of board meetings.
Correct.
Yep. Last time we checked in on this project, you guys basically wanted to get an idea for what it was going to look like financially for a couple different options. The options that we outlined at that point were an audio-only option, a Juno fixed recording system in a conference room, or a portable video solution with the potential for a position to fulfill that need more or less. So in front of you guys, you have a packet that outlines each option. I was explaining earlier to a couple of people offline that the optimal is a recommendation. I'm going to actually preface that with these are not competitive quotes at this point. This is just exploratory only. Once you guys have a further direction or at least an idea of what you want to look at more solid, I'll get some competitive quotes and we can go from there. But the options that you have in front of you on these packets, they're basically a la carte. So there's a recorder, there's some accessories and some options that would obviously make it a little more solid, a little user-friendly, I guess. In the instance where we have a large crowd or somebody who might be doing a public comment or something like that, rather than just a recorder on the desktop, you might want a microphone stand that they can actually step up to say their piece. If we look at option 3, which I think probably, if I would generalize it by saying had the most interest last time, that is a solution with a portable professional camera, tripod, a couple lenses. There's some microphone options in there. Obviously, you guys are the board, so if the optimal or the recommended solution looks good, that's fine. If you want to pare it down or at least get an idea based on what you're looking at in front of you, you can give me a little more direction and I'll move on from there. So that said, as far as the equipment goes, that's pretty much what you're looking at. Does anybody have any questions on numbers or prices? Maybe what stuff is?
Last time we talked a little bit about what it was going to cost to store and maintain and hold on to this stuff for 7 years.
Correct.
10 or longer. Can you remember what we had talked about for the video portion?
Well, I believe when I outlined the other school district, I was using a similar situation to having a essentially professional videographer. That person was providing a DVD. I believe Tom at least had said, well, that seems to be at least the easiest, if not most cost-effective solution. So depending on how much data you're going to wind up storing at 3 hours, I think it's probably a couple hundred DVDs. But that was essentially where I was to believe that we were kind of looking towards. So as far as making it available to the public, I assume YouTube is kind of the direction you guys were leaning towards, rather than any other type of service. I know there's several out there. Osceola, the village uses a paid service for theirs, but there's a cash outlay for that.
Well, I suppose we should probably discuss what direction we want to go with this. Anybody got any thoughts?
Option 3.
Thinking the full gamut?
Well, I like the portability, so we don't lock ourselves into any one thing. That opens up for we can record whatever we want for the kids. I don't know, kind of like that.
And then storing it on DVD?
Well, if that's the most cost effective, that works for me.
I can certainly explore that. I mean, if I could get you a solid quote, but I mean, that was what I was to understand from the direction last time was where you guys were leaning towards.
And then if
Seems simple, cheap.
if we went that route, Ben, what do you think it would take for time to have somebody manage it?
Well, I think that kind of gets back into the potential to create a position of videographer, or in the case of maybe even expanding it beyond that to classroom curriculum or a extracurricular activity or a club, so to speak, like an audio video club. That used to be common, at least when I was in school. That was quite a while ago at this point. But as far as managing it, then for just the board meetings, I think, like I said, if you're looking at every hour of video, you're probably dealing with an hour of managing it, but that becomes taken over or absorbed by the position essentially.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Then CD technology is probably soon to be a thing of the past.
It is.
It is already, really. But so what are some of the other options?
We could invest in like a fixed hard drive media bay, something with pretty intense capacity, probably in the hundreds of terabytes. The only downside there, when you look at lifetime archiving or 7 years of archiving, when you look at the life of archiving, not as in lifetime, but
Right.
can't really treat data as a fixed commodity. You know, you have to keep it alive. If you put it on a CD, believe it or not, most commercial CDs actually only have a shelf life of 10 years. Magnetic tapes can be more, they can be less. You know, obviously they have to be kept in a cool, dark, you know, controlled environment if they're going to last a long time. But if you keep it alive and you move it from medium to medium, that's generally where you're going to get your longevity from. So online would certainly be an option. You know, I haven't explored anything to a quote type of degree at this point, just because we weren't even sure if that was an option.
Right.
No, I'm not gonna. Vendors don't like it when you start asking them for 6 different quotes and then you don't take any of them.
Right.
Once we get a solid direction, you know, we can start being competitive about the bidding process.
Because I'm just wondering, I mean, we talked a bit about a cloud-based server in the
Right.
past. It seems like something that would be
It certainly
long-term.
certainly is an option, and you know, the reason that these packets were laid out a la carte the way they were was that there's a lot of options available. You know, if we bring somebody in here, and I have resources if we want somebody who's got actually professional journalism background, you know, they can make a lot of recommendations about, you know, especially the equipment, you know, that we might be looking at or whatever the case may be. But, you know, anytime, you know, we're looking at storing this video data, there's gonna be a lot of options available. And we can do really great, we can do okay, or we can do enough to get by. And it's really gonna depend on what you guys wanna put into it, how solid you wanna make it, how available you wanna make it.
So if we look at this option 3 that is kind of out there, we have several options we could go deeper into as far as storage with this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And if you guys decide to move forward with that, you know, we'll look at those options, ranging from what you're already expecting, which is essentially DVDs on a shelf, to, you know, online storage or, you know, in-house hard drive storage, more or less.
Ben, if we explored going down the audio-only route, how's that managed?
Audio's a lot more simple to manage just because of the size of the files. You know, after working with a couple of these audio files from the last few board meetings now, it's negligible, essentially. I mean, there's more data being transmitted on a person's cell phone in a given day. So as far as somebody doing it with an audio file, providing it doesn't have to be redacted for any given reason, you know, it's certainly something that we can find somebody, whether it's me or secretary or anybody for that matter, to at least just copy the file and essentially upload it. There's no editing process that has to be gone through. There's no complicated download process or anything like that.
So whichever medium we look at, what would be the differences in getting it to a point where we could put it on a website or put it on YouTube? What's the differences in trying to get both of them channeled to where the public can view or listen to them?
Because the audio is audio only, there's no video manipulation. There's no, I mean, there could be, and depending on the degree that you guys want the information out there. I mean, with the YouTube, obviously with audio only, there is no video. So, you know, do you want a screen that's on there that says, you know, Clear Lake School District Board meeting, you know, with a date or any guests or the list of members present on the screen? You know, if you were to do that, obviously you're adding some video editing time into even the audio process. If you're just gonna do a straight dump of the audio file to YouTube, there's not much that has to go into it. With the video, it does get outputted to a video format that could be at least easily imported into a computer rather than using like a handy cam where you actually have to, you know, plug in and download or rip the video off. These cameras are actually pretty much meant to do exactly what you guys are looking for. With video, you're going to want a little bit more refinement put into the process, just because with audio you only have, you know, one sense that you're dealing with, and that's the ears. With the video you have, you know, subtitles to show who's talking, or maybe you don't. You could get by just downloading the video and uploading it directly to YouTube, and I would say you're going to cut maybe your management time to, for every hour of actual video being recorded, it's half an hour with the management just in dealing with the file size. With that recorder, essentially that's on your desk in front of you, you plug it into a USB port, you download the file, and you can have it on a flash drive or anything within probably 90 seconds, give or take. With video, you're not going to get anywhere near that just because you're talking a lot of data. Does that make sense? You're talking a shovel full versus 2.5 dump trucks.
Mhm. What are you guys thinking? Like portability or?
Well, I'm thinking that if, we put that out there, the people are gonna wanna know the information, and the information's in the audio. And the audio is the cheapest route. And, we start looking at it, we put 2 hours a meeting into this, we're gonna have to pay, and I don't know what to charge per hour for someone to do that, but, that's gonna be approaching $1,200 a year just to get it to where it needs to go. That's my thought, anyway.
I like Ben's idea where we could potentially springboard off of that and bring back an AV club, and it really opens up the doors to our educational opportunities, I think. You guys?
Dave?
I think at minimum, we should do, record the meetings and put it out there, audio wise, at a minimum. We can start there. That isn't gonna cost much at all. And then, pursue it after that.
Because we could go, right from the recording we're doing tonight, we could put this into an MP3 and load it in a few minutes. I have students do podcasts all the time. It doesn't take much of anything to do that.
Right.
So we could at least have that up and running right away, Is there a way, Ben, that we could, if we put it onto the webpage, that we could see how many listens? Is there a way to do that?
Well, at this point, I've actually proceeded with setting up a YouTube account for the school
Okay.
district. That's ready to go.
Okay.
I believe, depending on how things proceed from here, we might actually be posting the recordings that we have already.
Okay.
So you'll be able to view whatever feedback right off of YouTube, number of views, essentially, even though it's only audio.
Okay. Because I'd certainly be interested to see how many people are really tuning in and see if we go further with it. And maybe we use this as the first stage, kind of like Dave's talking about, get this going right away, get them out there, see what, how much investment there is in the public in listening.
Yeah, and then that way too, we can see if we sound like Snuffle Up, I guess, or if we want to continue doing
More
it.
like Kermit the Frog, but.
What direction do we want to give Ben then?
Well, I think we've got to probably, if you're set up to get the recordings on, we should probably make a motion, make it official to get that stuff sent down the pipeline and start there. And then I think before we go any further, we should probably ask the question, where is our camera club? Or what would it take if we wanted to go down the path that Tom recommended about starting a club up that would handle videography, if that's even a word? Where are we on that from our staffing standpoint?
I would say this, Greg, as far as, okay, if you're going to start a club, in the past, we bring forward a proposal, okay, of what is the club, what is its purpose, what is the goal, those kinds of things. You're going to have some kind of stipend or salary related to supervision of that club, and you want to have all those things to start with, and then advertise and as far as interview or bring in people to talk to about it, and so it, like I say, we have, and I don't have them in front of me, but the way we handle clubs, new clubs, formation of, and so I guess that would be that. We don't have a club right now per se, so it'd have to be something that would have to be formed, and
So there's a process
there's
involved.
a process, yes.
Oh, we got Spanish club and art club, and
Yeah, we got-
went right to the teacher that was kind of in charge of that. So,
Yep.
do we have kind of that person and staff that would be interested in looking at that?
We don't have, say, that, I guess, what type of a position that has an AV club or an audiovisual club, or I don't know how Ben put it.
Yeah. I
Is
think
that
all the-
a flash from the past, AV
It
club,
is.
or, there's all kinds of different titles we can put on it as far as production club or whatever, so. But I think that would be your first, if you're gonna have that kind of position, is, okay, define it. What is it? What's the responsibilities, expectations, goals?
Do we have a camera club still?
I don't believe so, no. No.
Because it would, I mean, from a technology use standpoint and, you know, things that could be put onto the Facebook and, you know, YouTube about the school, I think there's a lot of benefits in students knowing how to do audio, video, and do editing and all of that. I mean, that's the world, a lot of them do it all the time anyways. I don't think students would have a hard time
No, they're-
grasping that at all.
they're doing that in the
Yeah,
classes, so.
Right, so.
So
Yeah.
is there a class that does this?
No, it's done across classes, whether it's an English class or a science class or cross curriculum. So we don't have an audio-visual club or an audio-visual class.
Is that something that could be put into the curriculum down the road?
Well, it kind of is, isn't it, Brad, already? I mean, I know they're doing, we were doing website stuff in Josh Gange's class.
Yeah. And so he does things there, but like I say, it's in every class. You teach it across curriculum. You don't just have a class of audio or video class.
Right.
You do it in all the classes. And from the simplest PowerPoints to using some type of video software to create videos. I know they do them in Spanish class, social studies class, all the different classes. So all of our teachers do that. We don't have one per se that is an audio-visual club, though. I mean, if you wanted to start something like that, like I said, you want to define it and
See if there's some interest then.
Yep.
So that's kind of under Mr. Gange's wheelhouse then, so we should talk
I
to
don't
him
know if
first.
I'd assign it to Mr. Gange. I guess I would start with Mr. Gillis. And,
I would say ask, see
Yeah.
if there's any interest out there.
yeah, well, no, we're going to ask all the staff. I mean, when we advertise a position, Tom, we put it out for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I get that.
We don't just go to one person. And so,
Well, we're talking hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Where would we start and where would we go from this?
so if that's the route you want to go. Yeah, everything comes at a cost, and with state budgets the way they are, I mean, you're going to want to know those numbers, I think, before you approve such a move, along with, what, $3,000? Is that what you're looking at, Ben, for this system? And then, okay, again, coming back to defining what is that position. Is it an hourly position? Is it a yearly annual salary of $3,000? Is it, I'm just throwing out numbers right now, and, okay, what is the total cost of doing this? And then, where's the money come from? Are we cutting something somewhere else to make room for this? That's decisions the boards have to make.
Mm-hmm. Well, we just bought a pile of iPads for $20,000. So I don't know where they go or what they're doing, but we just passed through. So there's a lot of things we can discuss. Is there any direction we want to give Ben now? Is it,
That's the thing tonight, is what direction you want to give Ben? Are you, it sounds like audio, as soon as possible. And sounds like Ben's proceeded already to get that rolling, if the board so chooses. And I think, Greg, what you said is, yeah, you need to approve that you're going to do that. And then from there, okay, is the camera, the portable camera, the option that you want Ben to look into more, and then also the management of it, or the AV club, or whatever you call it. So that, I
Yeah,
think,
so-
would summarize what
as a
you're,
group, do we want to have Ben get competitive bids on option 3?
Well,
To really get the numbers dialed in?
I don't know, that number you gave us, Ben's probably pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's gonna be within, I'd give you probably a $500 variance on it. But as far as the staffing goes, I mean, that's not gonna be my pay grade, just so you guys are clear on that.
Well, so if we've got that piece of the pie priced out, if we were to create a club, Brad, could you kind of gather some information as far as what it would cost to not only get a club rolling and then to keep it funded so we can manage what Tom's proposing we do?
I would come up with some kind of stipend or to fit in the co-curricular that would fit in there along with all the others, something that would be comparative. Now, again, you're going to have to define if we're doing board meetings, 22 board meetings, 3 hours a board meeting, that's 66 hours. Are we planning on that to start with? Are we doing concerts? Are we doing all of a sudden athletic contests? How big? And so we define the position, or we define the advisor's tasks that, and so, yeah, 22 board meetings, and come up with a number that would be approximate, or I think would be commensurate to other items in our co-curricular schedule. But then if we expect them to do all these other things, okay, the number's going to go up. So that would be up to the board's decision.
All right, well, let's start then by looking for a motion to move our audio stuff down the pipeline and get that going and make that part of the way we do business.
I'll make a motion that we take the audio recordings and use Ben's direction here and get it on the website or on a YouTube channel, or both.
Sounds good. Is there a
ASAP.
second?
I'll second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we put our recordings out to the public. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then, Brad, you're going to come back with some numbers then on what it would cost
Yeah,
to...
Ben and I will work together on that as far as time, and see if we can't put together a figure that fits in the co-curricular salary schedule.
David?
I have a question I was going to go back to when we did the minutes. In the previous meeting, we talked about, Tom mentioned it, those iPads. We bought 30 iPads a couple meetings ago. We approved that. It was like $20,000 transfer, and you purchased 30 iPads. Is that right?
Well, that's not an agenda item right now. I don't know what you...
I know, but I was just going to ask who's going to be using. It wasn't put in the minutes, and I should have remembered, but I was just going to ask. I wanted to put what those iPads are going to be used for. I didn't. Do you know?
They're purchased for the elementary.
For the students or for
students,
teachers?
for students,
Okay.
for RTI improvement. And that was discussed that night.
Okay.
All right, then, we'll move on then to information discussion regarding superintendent search.
I did contact the WASB, and on behalf of Greg and the rest of us, and so they did respond back. And Greg, you just have the one letter, but then here is a packet that they sent for each board member.
Thank you.
If you want to read the letter there, Greg.
Dear Greg, thank you for contacting the Wisconsin Association of School Boards regarding your upcoming superintendent search. The WASB brings more than 26 years of experience and over 300 completed searches to the process of finding an administrator to match the specific needs of your district. The WASB offers a national search process. We pride ourselves on providing a search that is both rigorous and highly flexible. The basic phases of the search process are summarized in the enclosed proposal. Each phase can be modified to meet the needs of the board and the district. The WASB search process begins with a complimentary meeting with the school board to further explain the service and to answer any questions. The search, including the timeline and the contract, will be tailored to meet your needs. The cost of the service varies according to the actual amount of time involved and the number of services provided. So I guess with that, we've got this packet to look over. I guess we should, I encourage you guys to take this home and study it, and then we'll visit it at the next meeting.
Were there other places, Brad, you were mentioning that we could explore?
Well, one of them, Tom, was Dennis Richards, and he actually became part of the WASB. He joined that, and so he's in here. Walschlager is another one I commented on. They haven't done any active searches that I know of here, or that they're not in the practice right now. So that was the three that I knew of, and so the WSB did send their stuff. And I guess what I would say, this is a starting point. You can see, and if you want them to come and present, they'll come and present on their own. Like I said, Greg said, they'll do a complimentary presentation and take you through. If you want others, as I talked to them, they said, hey, that's no problem, go ahead and set up others, but they would be willing to come first or at any time and present. And I mean, it's the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and so we as a school district belong to the organization. They've done a number of, I think they've got it in here, the different school districts that they are doing or have done, or they mention how many that they've done, and especially up in northwest Wisconsin, they've been doing a number of them. Yeah, on page 13 is the number of them that you can see, and you can see a number of them up this way. So they are very popular. Again, if you wanted to bring them in first, have them do a presentation, you say, you know what, let's bring somebody else in, you can do that at that time. And so, but like I say, the other two that were up in this area that were fairly common, one joined here, and the other one hasn't been real active, so.
Who did Amory use to find their?
WSB. They're in the process of. Yep. So yeah, if you look at page 13, they don't list them and they don't list Siren, but those are some of them that are going on right now.
How long, Brad, does it take to go through this process with the WASB?
Okay, they've got a calendar in here, and you can, on page 10.
Oh, I found it.
And you can speed this up, as it says, 1 to 3 months. Complete survey may take 3 to 5 months. Our search may take 3 to 5 months, but you can speed it up. I know in our neighboring school district, they sped theirs up quite considerably over in Amory. So, but that's something that maybe you talk with them when they come in and do the presentation. And I guess that would be my suggestion, is have them come in, do the presentation for you, have your questions ready to, again, what Greg said, take this home, look at it, have your questions ready for them. And that can be done soon. I mean, that meeting can be set up real soon.
Say, is that an option even at the next meeting? December's gonna be here before we.
You know, I would schedule a separate meeting, Pete, from that one, because that's our annual meeting.
Right, oh, you're right.
And so I would schedule,
Yep.
and a lot of,
Within-
most school
in the next
districts
2 or
will do
3
that.
weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Most school districts would do that, is schedule an evening where you're going to hear this.
Okay.
Because again, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to get moving on this as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Who's gonna be the contact guy then to get in touch with these guys?
I'll get in touch with them, I mean, if you want a presentation, and set the next, or special meeting for a presentation by them.
Do we want a presentation? I mean, it sounds like we've got one group, or one group, you know?
Well, I think you want a presentation,
Yeah,
Tom.
I think you wanna, you know.
'Cause they'll-
That's complimentary, you said.
Yeah,
right?
it's complimentary. They'll take you through the timeline, you can ask questions, I mean, and then, yeah, it's a cost, there's no doubt about that. And you can help define that cost at that time, is, okay, we don't want to spend, it's not an open checkbook. We want to make sure, okay, that we stay within this parameter, okay, what can you do for us with this amount of dollars? That can be one thing that you can specify that night. So,
When do you think we can get that meeting rolling, Brad?
up to you guys. I mean, we'll call them tomorrow, and
I'm with Peter, I think.
Soon as possible.
Soon as possible. Send us an email, find it
Okay.
out, and let us know when we should have a special meeting. If we can have it
We'll do that.
before the annual meeting, I'm good with that.
no problem with that. We can contact them, and they're, like I say, they're very quick at responding, and so we'll set her up as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything else on the superintendent search? Okay, then we'll move on to the new business, food service audit review.
Yep, behind your vouchers, I believe, is a letter from Jennifer Lamb, the nutrition program consultant for the school nutrition team at the DPI. We had an audit back in April of our food service program, and so this is the letter that they sent in conclusion or in the closing of that audit. The administrative review of the school nutrition programs for the Clear Lake School District was conducted on April 20th to 23rd, 2015. A report along with comments and suggestions were reviewed at the exit conference at the end of the on-site review. Thank you and all the staff involved for the corrective action responses that were submitted. The AR for the 2014-15 school year is now considered completed and closed. No fiscal action was necessary for this review. Keep up the great work. Again, thank you so much for all the courtesies extended to me during the review process. Please don't hesitate to call me at the number, Jennifer Lamb at the DPI, if you have any questions or concerns or any aspects of the school nutrition program. I also, and part of the review is, again, and I didn't copy this off for you, and Penny's here tonight, and she's going to talk a little bit about it too. But I do want to read a couple things from it. It's the administrative review summary report, and a couple things that Penny will talk about that took place from this review. But I want to read a couple things here because of the job that Penny and Joy Nordby and the food staff does. Appreciation and commendations. Thank you, Penny Kobernick, Joy Nordby, and the rest of the school nutrition staff for the courtesies extended to us during the on-site review of your school nutrition program. We're incredibly grateful for your preparation and organization prior to the on-site portion of the review. Thank you for being available to answer questions, provide additional information, as well as being receptive to the recommendations and guidance. Thank you for all you do for the nutrition programs and working hard to get nutritious meals to children. The team works hard to meet all the requirements of the National School Lunch Program and school breakfast programs. There were no benefit issuances, errors, or counting and claiming errors. Joy did an excellent job with some tricky situations that she encountered during the verification process. The documentation kept at this school is excellent. The kitchens are spotless with outstanding food safety practices. The food was great as well. It is very obvious that Penny and Joy have an impeccable eye for detail when it comes to ensuing claims. I want to go on to another area, or one other, again. Find the right one here. Meal pattern and nutritional quality. Again, the commendations, the food service department in the Clear Lake School District should be commended for providing excellent customer service to students while planning and implementing meals that comply with federal regulations. Penny Kobernick did a fantastic job compiling the documentation required to analyze adherence to meal pattern requirements. Submitting this documentation prior to the review helped to streamline the review process. In general, the documentation system that is in place is very well organized and thorough. Production records are being utilized to their fullest potential as a tool they are intended to be. Recipes are standardized appropriately and staff members have been trained on offer versus serve. Signage is in place that helps students understand how to create a reversible meal. Overall, many best practices were observed and will be shared with other schools. The food service department at Clear Lake School District operates as a model for other school districts, and Penny is a model food service director. Hats off to Penny. And I know Penny would say this, that it's not her. She's got an excellent staff, and they deserve to be commended. That's why I wanted to read that. But I do want to let Penny talk. And corrective actions. There was a recipe that, what was it?
It's actually, it's an item that we have to have a child nutrition label for, and the child nutrition label was incorrect. So that's where we have.
It wasn't on Stromboli, but what was it on?
It was
Kelso.
yeah.
There we go. And so that's the minimum type of stuff that, and again, obviously the report is glowing, and hats off to Penny. Things to add to it, Penny?
Just that my staff did a really good job. It was a busy year with the new school and review, and this is the first time that the review process has changed since the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act has come through. Now we get reviewed every 3 years. It used to be every 5, and the whole process has changed. We had to submit a lot of documentation ahead of time, which was good, but it's just different. So it was, it was a little bit stressful because we weren't sure what to expect always. So, but otherwise it went really well, and glad for supportive staff. So very thankful. And I guess the only other thing that, a couple weeks ago, Senate introduced a new child nutrition bill, and I'm kind of excited about it, so if you can tell your senators in support of this, it's called the School Lunch Price Protection Act, which would make the paid lunch equity mandate only applicable to school food authorities that have a negative balance from the previous school year. So basically what that means is that we wouldn't have to raise lunch prices if we're doing financially well from the previous year. So, because as you know, or some of you know, that we've had to continue to raise prices, and
And
we
that
prefer not to do that.
food service calculator is what we have to follow, that, and we did that last board meeting, was it? That we approved lunch meat. And so there is action to, and because we've said that, because Penny does a great job managing the food service, that we aren't running in the hole. And so rather than being forced into raising prices a dime or whatever it be on average, and that's part of Joy's responsibility, figuring out what that is. But it would be nice to have the flexibility to say, no, you know what, we're doing fine. We don't need to raise prices, so, rather than being told that you need to. So, questions for Penny as far as, or even, I won't put Joy on the spot, I thought I saw her, but as far as the food service audit, again, went very well, and we're pleased. So,
Nice job.
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, then we'll move on to consideration and approval of food service staffing modifications.
okay. The first, and what that means is this here. The amount of work, the amount of paperwork that Penny has to do is the reason I've got that on the agenda. All of the different recording and menus, and like I say, I had to point out the one deficiency as far as I always want to say calzone, I guess it was
Yeah, it's
calzone.
calzone, yeah.
I mean, that's how picky they get, that has to be exact. And Penny has to do that with every meal served, with every product served, with every item served. And so that paperwork is becoming more and more. And unless we wanted to hire somebody else just to do that, I'm coming tonight asking to, Penny works during the school year 8 hours a day, and I'm coming to you tonight to ask if I can increase her contract to 8.5 hours a day. Financially, again, the food service program is very sound, and I wouldn't be here asking if we couldn't afford to do that. And so that's what that is a consideration approval of food service staffing modification. Penny has an 8-hour contract during the school year, some weeks during the summer. I would like to ask you to increase that to 8.5 hours in order to accomplish all that paperwork.
I make a motion, we do that.
Any thoughts on it?
I was just gonna ask if the half hour I'm kind of familiar with what she does, and it's a lot. Can you get that all done in a half hour, Penny?
We'll start there. We'll start there.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. I mean, there's some days, and we've talked about it, we've talked in length. I mean, yeah, it's 2.5 hours a week, so it's a start, it'll help, and if we can't, we'll be back.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Absolutely.
All right.
I think Pete did.
No. Well, it's been properly moved and seconded twice that we approve the staffing modifications. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Motion passes.
And there's one more there, and I'm going to let Penny actually talk about this one, because we want to make a staff adjustment also. We have people at certain amounts of time, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's 4.5, 6 3/4, and so we would like to modify one other employee's salary or amount worked. And so Penny, why don't you?
I'd just like to add 15 more minutes to one of my staff, just to help with the load. We're trying to make sure we have choices every day at both sites, and the menus are definitely more complicated than they were before the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, and it would be really helpful if we could add 15 more minutes to one of the staff. And it's a staff that's willing to fill in and learn too for my position, which is helpful, so.
Should we ask the same question again? Is 15 minutes enough?
Start there.
It's a start there.
Yep.
Okay,
It's one of
let's see how
those
it
that-
goes.
Yeah. And I would tell you this year, even last spring, Penny was having that person coming in and staying that much longer. And so it kind of tested it a little bit here to see what, so
Okay.
we'll start there.
Any motions?
Sure, I'll move.
Here a second?
Second.
Been probably moved and seconded that we add 15 minutes to one of Penny's staff. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Is there any more, Brad?
Nope, that's it.
Then we'll move on to the approval of the 2015-16 bus driver handbook.
Okay. Nick. Okay. Not a whole lot of changes again here either. Is you found from the handbooks that the last time that we approved, if you just want to page through the, let's see here, page 3. And these are the things that I sent you in your board packets. Under number 11, requirements of driver, pre-trip inspections, AM and PM runs. That's been a standard. That's required DOT. Each driver is responsible for keeping their bus clean inside and out. Each driver is responsible for checking all fluids. Each driver is responsible for windshield washer fluid. And then all other fluids drivers should request from transportation director. And so the last two, and actually the all fluids is part of the AM and PM DOT inspections. So we just added there to for some clarification.
So all other fluids means other fluids other than windshield washer?
Correct.
Fluid, okay.
Yep. And then just some editorial as far as on the otherwise, again, there's not any other changes. But in the back, on use of video monitoring systems on school buses, the first paragraph, the school district of Clear Lake approves the use of video cameras on school buses for the primary purpose of reducing disciplinary problems and vandalism on the bus, thereby allowing drivers to focus on the driving of the bus and providing for safe transportation of students. The second paragraph just spells, so monitoring, the very last sentence, monitoring devices are on route buses and in complete confidentiality. So they are on all the route buses. We do have a couple sub buses that they've been removed from, but those don't get to be used as far as unless there's a reason a bus is taken off the route. So, but all route buses do have cameras. And then the very last sentence, if there are not reported bus problems pertaining to the date a video was recorded, the video is recorded over. There are continuous recording devices, and Ben, do you know how many hours are on those?
54.
54, 60 hours, something like that, yeah. Okay, and so they start recording over unless we're told of an event, and then we record it. But again, those are kept in confidentiality.
Do the school bus drivers, Brad, ever get to kind of poke at them to see what's going on their route, or?
No, unless there's something that happens.
Okay.
Yep.
The only word I wish you'd have put in there was monitoring devices are on all route buses.
You can add the word all.
That way it
Yeah.
eliminates ambiguity.
Yep.
They're on all of them.
Yep. That's what the sentence means, so whether you add all or whether it stays, so. Okay. Other than that, that was the only, it's the same as other years. We have a bus drivers meeting coming up Wednesday morning, and we go through this packet with them, all the different things, so. Any questions?
All right, then, we will move on then.
Nope, looking for approval of it.
Oh,
Approve
whoops.
that.
Yep.
Well, then I'm looking for a motion. to
I
approve
will
this.
move to approve the 2015-16 school bus driver handbook.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
And properly moved and seconded to approve the school district bus driver's handbook. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now review of proposed 15-16 budget.
Behind the food service letter, we're going to start with our July 1 estimate of general aids, and I'm going to point out a number of things here that are estimates at this time. We'll get more information when school starts, student enrollment. We'll get our equalized value in October. We'll get our general state aid on October 15th. And so right now what you have in front of you is the best guess estimate that I can put together at this point using, like I say, estimate numbers. So the first one is right behind, like I say, the food service letter is the July 1 estimate of general aids. I won't go through all these lines, but what I would tell you is on the left-hand column or left-hand side is the monies that were spent in 14-15, and they're categorized. And so I won't go through all those categorized, but just so everybody knows that state aids and revenue that you get is based on spending the prior year. And so that's the prior year is on the left-hand side, 14-15. And so then you take that information and you go over to the right-hand side. And so then it starts with July 15, or 2015-16 July 1st estimate. And the numbers are plugged in on that side of what you spent from the prior year. And finally, down in the very far right-hand corner, you can see Part H, July 1st estimate of equalization aid at $4,664,903. H3, the Milwaukee Charter Program backs out $75,855 out of our state aid to go to the charter program. Giving you the equalization aid number, the estimate at this point at $4,589,545. We're going to take that number and put it into our revenue limit worksheet here eventually. Just a couple things on the estimate. It's an estimate. It's a July 1st estimate. We have a number of things that are taking place this year with charter schools, with unlimited caps on different programs, and it is going to affect our state aid. We won't know what it is until they have those kids in schools throughout the state. Going to private schools, going to charter schools. We know it. We knew when that passed that it was going to affect our state aid. We'll find that out on October 15th, just how much that's going to affect our state aid. And so again, our revenue cap is made up of state aid and taxes. If state aid goes down, taxes go up. And so I'm cautioning the board right now that that number, that $4,500,000, I will be willing to bet will go down. And so it is an estimate at this part, but keep that in mind. So then flip the page, and then here's our revenue limit worksheet. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail, but on the left-hand side is our numbers from this year as far as the money spent up in the upper left-hand corner, and moving on down through enrollment. And as far as enrollment, projecting that it's going to stay similar or a slight increase from last year. The property evaluations right now, we won't get those till October 1st, 2015 or 16, and so what you see in this here is really last fall's, and so we have to use that at this time. Who knows what's going to happen with property evaluations? I don't think we're going to change a great deal. Might go up a little bit, but we haven't been a district that has changed a lot. We're not a property-rich district. We're really a property-poor district. And so that doesn't change a lot for us. So then going over on the right-hand side, the 2015-2016 revenue limit worksheet. You can see the number to start with is the base from 14-15. Our number of students, again, staying relatively flat at 609, the 3-year average. Which gives us a base member revenue per child of $9,306.26. That number comes down to the 603. Again, I'm using an estimate that's relatively lower or in that ballpark that we feel it's going to come in at. Given us, again, a revenue limit of $5,667,512. We've got a hold harmless non-recurring exemption because we didn't reach the plateau of increase that the state allows, and so that $55,837 is added. Under 8C, 8B, transfer of service, that $51,000 is from last year. We had a number of special needs students transfer in from other school districts were high cost, and so we get to count those into this year's revenue limit worksheet, and so that's what that is. So then, number 9, total 2015 limit with reoccurring exemptions of $5,718,897. Total non-recurring exemptions, you can see the declining enrollment exemption because of our 3-year average, the $55,000 being added back in. Energy efficiency exemption. This is something that, again, we approved a couple, 3 years ago. That will be there year after year. Again, it was figured in on a financial plan, and so, again, the numbers hopefully, not hopefully, but will remain pretty steady. And so that $220,500 is part of the energy exemption that we help do our elementary remodeling and things here at the high school. So finally, when we get down to 11, the revenue limit with all exemptions is $5,995,235, and then the total aid to be used in 12A and B. The July 1st estimate, that's where that number comes back, the $4,589,539 from the state is taken off of there. And so then the allowable revenue limit is $1,405,969. We've got to back out the $276,000 we've got from the $220 from up above, and then we do have $56,000. That's the unfunded liability in Fund 38. That's line B. And so it totals $276,000 has to be backed out of that $1,405,000. And so for our general operations, we have $1,129,683 that we can use. The other areas that we have revenue that we will be taxing for, and all this will be at the annual meeting also, but I want to give you a preview of it tonight. 15A, referendum approved debt, is the finishing off of paying up of the high school. That's $665,078, and then the $20,000 from Community Ed Fund 80, the programs that we have there. So that also is part of the taxation. So the proposed tax levy at this point right now would be $2,090,774. That is down from last year, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but some $140,000. So it's a very good number, but again, these are estimates. The estimate from the state, how that fluctuates is going to change that number. And so then, like I say, the total all fund levy at that $2,888,518 projects out to a mill rate of 10.85, and this present year we were at 11.2. We did, in our estimates, say that we would go as high as 11.4. This is projecting going down for this next year. So again, we don't know where the state aid is going to come in. Obviously, our student count, the equalization, evaluations, things like that. So that number that on 18 is the number I take for the budget that I'm going to show you next, but I wanted to show you where those numbers came from, and then the state aid number of $4,589,000. And so if you flip 2 pages, we actually are going to get to the budget now. That was just a little preempt. First sheet you have is a revenue worksheet, and you can see what we've done. First of all, the property taxes, the $1,127,427, you can see last year was $1,363,000, so projecting down considerably. But again, that's an estimate. We won't know that until we get our state aid. The rest of the numbers, mobile home tax, these are all pretty consistent with other years. Non-capital sales, you can see that last year, 79.96. Well, we had the online auction. We're not anticipating $8,000 worth of sales. That dropped down some, or dropped back down to the 1,500, which is more like normal. Admissions staying pretty much the same, pretty flat. Same with other school activity. Interest, not a lot of interest, as you can see over the years. Gifts has been up and down all over. Student fees, again, pretty standard at $6,000, and then the student fines and miscellaneous at $100 each. Anyway, local sources, $1,153,227. Next line is open enrollment transfers in. $414,024. You can see last year we were at $350, so we're looking at an increase of about $64,000 of kids coming in. That's reflective of when we did open enrollment, and the open enrollment number going up coming into the district compared to going out. You'll see the number going out is also in here, and that's increased some also, but again, this is what reflects the number of kids increasing coming in. Next area is state aids. Transportation, again, that's one that's here or there. You can see some of the years it's been up in the 30s. They have, in the past budget, allowed for a higher cost of transportation of longer distance students in rurals, and so allowed it to go up a couple $1,000s back up to 29. Library aid, that's been, again, fairly consistent. That's based on numbers of students that are between the ages of 3 and 21 that live in your district. Pupil aid adjustment, that number, the 120,000 and the 119 last year, if you remember, the governor's budget proposed cutting that, and so you can see the kind of money that it meant to us and why I was talking with Assembly and senators and going down to Madison, $120,000. It got reinstated. It's not increased. Next year there's a projected $100 per student increase, but at least we have the money that we had in other years, and so anticipating that again. You can see the equalization aid number, the $4,589,539. Just taking that from the equalization aid sheet. Again, that's an estimate from the state. Special project, similar number in the past, $9,700. Sage aid, you can see this past year, 14-15, it jumped up to 173 from 152. The budget, actually, the Senate and Assembly put more money into, because it wasn't a fully funded program, and it's still not going to be fully funded, so we were prorated. But they did add more money to it, $2 million a year, and so that reflects us getting a bigger per-child stipend from the state. And so from last year, you can see the 173, and so we're anticipating about 175 for next year. And the reason for the increase is, again, the state appropriated more money for SAGE. State revenue, local government, that's one of our townships does a thing through the DNR with part of their money, and so we get that through a DNR plan program. It's basically, it's been the same, around the $2,000 mark. Computer aid's been around that similar, $2,000, $3,000, not a whole lot of money. Sparsity aid, that's another program, again, to help rural districts, and we are part of that program where we qualify. Again, it's a program that more money has been delegated to by this biennium, and so we're anticipating a small increase of $7,000, $8,000. I've got about $7,200 there. Increase up to $155,000. And so you can see the state aids at $5,113,371. Next area is the federal. You can see what's happening with federal funds. The special projects is a class size reduction money, it's called, and that's remained pretty flat around that 33.5 mark. 3 years ago it was 33,465. Last year 33,531, so I just put in 33.5 for estimate for this next year. Title I aid, you can see, yeah.
That other state revenue, it looks like we only had 1 year's worth of that, $3,800. What's that?
We're about
On 699.
Okay, the 3,800, in 30, it was a grant as far as, and I've got it in here a second, it's part of the educator effectiveness. We get $80 per staff member that's in the program and principal to help offset the cost of that. Yep. As I said, the federal program, the first one is the class size reduction, staying pretty flat. The Title I aid, you can see over the years, has gone down considerably. Has flattened out here the last couple years at 62.5, 62.6, and so that's what, again, the estimate that we have from the federal government. And then same thing with the 12,000 and 11,206 that you see, the federal state agency. Again, that's a federal grant program that is, again, just a federal dollars to a specific program. So, and I'd ask Lori to identify what it all goes to. But again, the $12,000 there. So from the federal source, you can see 108,000. We had 107, 333 last year. Fixed asset sale. Again, I know Art is talking about that we've got a couple buses that he's fixed up and that we can sell. So again, our other assets that we asked for at the annual meeting to sell. Insurance is our 20% rebate that we get, and again, the last couple years, you can see 15,700. E-rate E-fund of 5,000, and then just miscellaneous aidable 2,500. So that last line, 23,200. So revenue total is all the things that I've talked about, $6,821,922. You can see compared to last year, we had $6,791,364, and so up very slightly. But again, the biggest factor there is the open enrollment number. And so, and then the slight numbers in SAGE and sparsity aid. But the biggest one is the open enrollment number. Again, we won't know that number until, for sure, the first week of school, when kids are all enrolled in all the different schools around the state. And so that's an estimate also. So then what we start is, and what I'm projecting to you is a balanced budget for this next year. The first page, page 1, is a summary worksheet of all the different areas. I'll just quickly go down that one, then we'll go through them individually. Undifferentiated is the elementary. Regular curriculum is the high school. Vocational speaks for itself. Physical education curriculum speaks for itself. All the co-curriculars that we have, whether they're academic or athletic, you can see that. Gifted and talented, the number there. Pupil services, the counselors, etc. Educational media, Ben and the library services and things like that. District administration, my office and Joy Nordby and the school board under there. Building administration is the principals, secretaries, everything that takes place there. Fiscal is the Lori's office. Operation, $253,000 is the custodial. Maintenance, again, speaks for itself. Facilities remodeling, again, we've had some things over the years and or over the past couple years, but again, we keep money in that budget for just other things around the schools. Transportation, $256,000. Internal services, $258,000. That's actually just a CISA, okay, our contracted CISA management services there. Central services is telephone and copiers and things as such. Insurance, you can see, and I would point that number out going from 105,000 down to 93,000. Our workman's comp, we know when we got our bid this spring, that was down, and so that's reflected there. And then as far as, again, the CISA administration in 292 is actually the overall, all the programs that we use. The one up above was from what we use out of custodial and the management of our ecology and so forth, the clean air, et cetera, out of CISA 10. So again, this is a summary page, and you can see the $6,821,922. We're projecting a balanced budget. I do want to go through some individual pages, and if you have questions along the way, stop me. I'm obviously trying to move along fairly quick, but again, this will all be part of the annual meeting, and but I wanted to give you a preview tonight. Again, undifferentiated curriculum. You can see that's the elementary. You can salaries, benefits, purchase services, non-capital objects, capital objects, dues and fees. We're down about $35,000, and if you remember, the overall budget there is we did have the elimination of one staff person at the elementary with a reduction of a class size, and so that's reflects that at the elementary. Regular curriculum at the high school, you can see up $27,000. Again, salaries, benefits, things that increase along the way. We did decrease in non-capital objects at the high school. Capital objects about the same. And so again, the overall there is up about $27,000. Vocational curriculum is the tech ed, the consumer economics, business ed, agricultural areas. Again, here you can see the total down about $4,000, and we did hire a business ed person at a lower salary, which brings it down slightly, and so some changes there, not a great deal. Physical curriculum within $1,000, $1,100 from last year, from $199,790 to $200,000. Co-curricular areas, you can see down slightly, $4,000. Last year's budget under non-capital objects and capital objects, you can see those two numbers down. And as we looked at the remodeling project and at the weight room and some things that we wanted in there, that's where they were included last year, so we won't have that expense this next year, and so we've backed them out of there, and so that's why the budget is down slightly in the co-curricular area, because we use those for all different students and so forth, so we had some equipment in there under co-curricular. Gifted and talented is the same number. Again, we project each year the $5,291 salary benefits, and then the dues and fees of the different things that we get our GT students involved in. Pupil services, you can see, again, this is the counselors, and you can see under salaries an increase there. And that increase is reflected from, if you remember, we increased the elementary guidance counselor from 90% to 100%, or 80% to 100%. And so you see an increase in cost there, about the $10,000 that you see down below, from 92 to 102,000. So that's the reason for that increase. Educational media, again, library and Ben in the tech area, those two go together. In the 220s, and again, in the library area, Marcy Meyer did an excellent job putting together a budget, being in her first year, working with Cindy Theron. We do have some money, and we're allowed to carry that over, and so the amount of money that you can see, $247 that was spent last year, and you can see prior years it was up in the 270s, 290s, those areas. I put the money back in the carryover, so it's at 262,735. That's why that difference, that number's different. District administration. Again, the numbers there, as far as salary and benefits, are very similar to the last couple of years. As far as last year, the 167 and 168, the increases allowing for any kind of salary increases. The CPI this year, I failed to mention, but is 1.62 for this upcoming school year, so that's the max that salaries can increase. Benefits, very similar. We had some insurance costs that the district split with the all staff members. Purchase service, as far as going up the $2,000, we always include for our audits and for our legal attorneys and so forth, whether we use it every year. A lot of times we don't, but we have to budget for it. And so you can see the going up from 288 to 294, that's due to putting the money back in. We spent 288 this last year. We're putting the money back in for legal services and audit fees. That's to the total of 294. And as you can see from prior years, not that far out of line. Building administration, again, pretty standard. You can see that benefits, okay, and that's the difference of having a family health benefit plan on there from 103 to 122, adding another one on there. So the total 424 to 443 is again reflective of that same adding a family health plan in there. Fiscal, again, Lori's office, as far as costs there, again, slight increases from 90 to 92,000. Operation, the custodial areas, again, we spent about 606 last year, 606 212, and projecting 608 310. Again, a number that who knows the heating season, who knows all those different things, but we've got a budget for it, and so that 300 number, the purchase services, what you see there, the 165 780 back up to 192 that's where that number comes from. So again, nothing out of line there. Maintenance. Again, last year we did some things. The tiling is that 49,000 number. I did put back 41,948. That's going to be a number that down the road we may move around. It may come to you and ask like I did last spring, or the next superintendent may come to you. They're set up that, hey, that money could go elsewhere. Because again, with maintenance programs throughout the district, we've obviously taken care of many of them in the last 2 years with the referendum and remodeling and so, but I put the money back there. Might be something that, again, your future superintendent would have the flexibility to come to you and say, you know what, let's use that money somewhere else. So, but it's there. Facilities acquisition and remodeling, same thing there. We've had the 33,000 last year, cut that in half and added back 5,000 in the other couple areas, so a total of 25,000 compared to 45,000. Again, the stuff that we've done over the years allowed us to do that. Pupil transportation, the number there, again, is the one purchase service, the 300s. That number jumping $10,000. If you could tell me fuel was going to stay at $2.59 a gallon or whatever, $2.29, whatever it was today, or go lower, I'll take it. But I got to allow some kind of flexibility there for that number, and so that's what that is. So you go from 397 up to 413. Again, just a good estimate. Internal services, again, that's a number we get from CISA, pretty standard at 3,000. Central services, again, the telephones and different medias, postage, you name it, the 29,000. We were at 28,278, so nothing drastic there. Insurance, again, I talked about that already, but going from 105,826 last year down to 93, and again, that's reflective of our workman's comp going down. And then the CISA administration, a slight increase there from 8,068 to 8,499. Interfund payments. Special ed, first of all, and these are transfers now. We get X number of dollars in special education to help offset costs in special education. Different, whether it's state revenue, federal revenue, and so forth. Each year we got to transfer from Fund 10 to balance out. Fund 27 has to be a wash. And so with all the, again, the state, federal aids that we get, we apply first, and then whatever's left, we have to apply from the district. You can see this last year, we had to apply 577, 675, anticipating 560,000 this next year. And you ask, well, why did that go up? If you remember, we added some aides right at the start of the year. We added one after the beginning of the year. And so that's why that number is up 577. Why is it going down? Because in special education, we hired a new teacher at a lower cost than an experienced teacher, and then also in speech therapy, the same thing. So we hired a couple other lower cost people. And so anticipating that number to go back down. You can see the special education, the number there from 939, 997, and the number, the purchase services is a number using flow-through, federal flow-through dollars, and that, believe it or not, last year I think we had it up around 200,000. We spent 134, and I'm anticipating 166, and that's to purchase things in the special education areas, all the whether it's supplies and equipment and you name it. And so again, that's just a number that it's an estimate at this time. And so anyway, a balanced special education budget at 997, 890 also. And so again, the very last page is just a summary of all the different things. Again, projecting a $6,821,992 budget. I do want to pop back up. I skipped over, so I'm sorry about that. On page 12, under open enrollment, you can see that, yeah, we do have $371,000 going out the door, and that's an estimate. I mean, if all those kids that chose to open enroll last spring, open enroll with all the other kids, it's 371. You can see it was 306. It was 350 the year before. Yeah, I'm hoping that number goes down and that not all the kids that applied do go out. And so, but that's a number that obviously we always want to keep working on, because that's a big number of, hey, if that number holds true, it'd be nice to have $371,000 sitting in our house rather than going out the door. But again, we offset it with the $450,000 that we got coming in. The other thing I want to point out, 838, non-referendum. This last year we had to transfer $243,524 from our general fund to the non-referendum debt, Fund 39. And that was part of the plan of the remodeling, that in order to offset taxes, that we want to increase taxes more than what we said we would do that last year. And so we did transfer that. And now we didn't go in the hole that far as Fund 10, because we did have money saved elsewhere in Fund 10. So the total, you'll see that next in your annual meeting booklet, what the total that we took out of fund balance was. And so it wasn't the total $243,000, but we did transfer that much, and so we did hold the tax limit down. The 128 is the final year of doing that, where we said we would take $128,000 from Fund 10, transfer it to Fund 39. And so that number will be there again for this next year. I wanted to, sorry about not pointing that out the first time around. So, but again, taking that number in, even that 128,000, still projecting a balanced budget. And I hope the state isn't far off on their estimation of state aids to be able to come through with a equalized value that's dropping quite considerably. So, questions on the budget? And it's, again, the number of things that we have here that are estimates. I do have to say, I'll put a little kudos in for myself. We've been pretty consistent over the years. I do pretty conservative numbers. And so when we do get to, and this will be the numbers that we will hold at the annual meeting on June 24th, if everybody that's here, it's in the Commons on June 24th at 8 o'clock.
August.
Or, excuse me, yeah, thank you, Dave. They're going, what's that guy doing? August 24th at 8 o'clock in the Commons. These are the numbers that the annual meeting numbers will be based on. And again, any questions from the board? Work in progress. As we get the solid numbers, you will set the at the second meeting in October, and has to be in by the 1st of November to all the district treasurers, county treasurers, things like that. But this is the start of it. So,
Well, that being said, Brad, if I could publicly thank you for keeping our financial house in order for your tenure, I'm sure that appreciate it.
you're welcome.
All right, well then we'll move on to approval of district fuel provider for
Yep.
2015-16.
Right behind the budget, I've got one quote, and normally what we do is every 3 years, we'll contact different petroleum dividers in the area, whether it's from New Richmond, Amory, Turtle Lake, Clear Lake, and I've got one quote, this is the 3rd year, from Samson Oil, and Dave has been pretty consistent. He charges us 10 cents, as he says in the first paragraph. I, Dave Sampson, owner and operator of Sampson Oil, agree to supply the school district of Clear Lake with gasoline and diesel fuel for the 15-16 school year at a margin of 10 cents per gallon over my cost on the date of the delivery. And so that's the way all the companies bid it. And like I say, this is the 3rd year, and Dave didn't raise his price, so I didn't go out and ask other companies. Dave right here in town has been very competitive, has done us well, and so again, that would be something for next year, if you so choose, to go out and get bids at the start or in the middle of July, get them on a specific date, have all the companies quote that price that day, and so you compare apples to apples. But tonight I would recommend Samson Oil at Dave's bid at 10 cents per gallon over, and he's remained that over the 3 years that or the past 2, I should say, that he's gotten the bid. And so I would recommend Samson Oil.
Make a motion, we accept Dave Thompson's bid.
Got a second?
Second.
Yep, it's been properly moved and seconded that we approve Dave Sampson as our fuel provider. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And we'll move on to a new business F, acceptance of resignations.
Yep. Right behind Dave's quote, "Dear Mr. Air, please accept this message as notification that I am leaving my physical education health position at Clear Lake effective August 10th. I'm so thankful and appreciative of the time I've spent in Clear Lake. I truly believe I have been blessed being able to work for such a great superintendent as well as incredible staff and truly unforgettable students. I'm very sad to be leaving. Thank you again for the opportunities I've had. I wish you and the school nothing but the best. Look forward to visiting. Kristen Lehman." Kristen did come in and see me last Thursday. She did have an offer from another school and was considering it, and she did let me know, you can see on Saturday, that she was going to accept that. And again, it's a sign of the times. I was at a legal seminar here a week and a half ago, and I know the superintendents, we were all talking about almost like a free agency market. People are looking, because of where people are on salary schedules, things like that, in order to get and governed by the CPI, in order to get a substantial increase, if you're one of those people in your first through, say, 5-6 years, you look elsewhere and you get a bid or a salary from another school district and you compare it. And so I know Kristen did come in and she shared with me, and I said, you know what, Kristen, opportunities you got to take. And so it was an opportunity for her, and so we wish her well. But like I say, I know at our legal conference, it's happening all over the state where people are looking to increase their salaries, and the biggest increase to get is by moving school districts. And so it isn't abnormal just in Clear Lake. It's happening all over the state. So I would recommend accepting Kristen's resignation, and we would get it posted ASAP.
I'll make a motion.
I'll move to accept Kristen Lehman's resignation.
It's been properly moved
No, I'll second it then.
and seconded to
Sorry.
accept Kristen's resignation.
I missed it.
With many thanks for the contribution she's done over her years here. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. New business item G, future agenda. Anybody got any agenda items that we might want to play with?
I was gonna ask, but Brad handed out the calendar on the teacher handbook.
Yep.
That's on the next one.
That'll go on the next, yep,
Yep.
yep. Because there's the change to that time would be the insurance costs. That would be the one change.
Yep.
We'll have that at the next meeting. Okay, so, nothing, and just, okay, for the next agenda, it is before the annual meeting, and so we start at 6:30, the annual meeting is at 8 o'clock. I'll go through the annual meeting booklet, I'll send out the teacher and support staff handbooks, and take approval of those. We'll see what else as far as, but we try to keep the agenda. It'll take me a while to get through the whole annual meeting handbook for you guys and answer any questions at that point, and then we take it to the public at 8 o'clock. So that would be the next meeting.
Any other thoughts?
Is
David?
this pretty static? I mean, is this every year? It's pretty much the same?
You know, Dave, it can change some, but it is a lot of those dates, or a lot of those things, the election things, they're not going to change. The principal's evaluation, superintendent's evaluation, I mean, there's a lot of them that, what I put on there are things that are pretty set. Can they move a 1 week or 1 meeting? Possibly. But there are certain dates that certain things have to be met by, and so they won't move. So,
All right.
yeah, if you have any other questions, just give me a call on those. Stop in and see me.
No, go ahead.
Anything, guys? Okay. Then we will move on to contemplated closed session according to WSS 19.85, considering employment compensation or performance data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The board will discuss future staffing. And with that being said, thank you guys all for coming. Did we send a sheet around?
Yep.
Dave, you got a agenda?
Good job,
Yep.
Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks you guys for coming so much.
Everybody make sure
Get
they
home
sign
safe.
in, so. Good.
Yep.
As it-
Thank you again.
Tom said from the Free Press, he said, "I'm coming to the meeting, but I want a soft chair."
That's where my soft chair went.
I wasn't.
All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
That's Brent's job.
I will move to adjourn.
Looking for a second on that one.
Certainly.
Been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes, meeting adjourned.